Okay, guys. I'm going to record. I guess people must be busy, but I look forward to being on these, especially when Janice is teaching because I have the availability. Hey, Michael, I have the availability to get to do the study, the John Maxwell study, and then I get to hear it from somebody else's perspective. And I really like that. I really like it that Janice and I are both doing this and Lisa's doing it. And Lisa did a great job of teaching last week. The feedback was great. I posted, I'm going to start posting these all on YouTube like I have been so that people can go back and listen to them. And so that people can get from these what they're supposed to get, and that being some leadership development, but some actual just reality of what we're learning about these laws of growth. And I did just see that, we're going to have some serious, amazing teaching by John at convention, and in conjunction with several of the other leaders in the company. And so I'm excited about that. So we are, as I said, you guys hear it, if you're in my organization, I bought 20 tickets to the Real Salt Lake game. Some of you have already committed to taking the tickets. I'm going to take the first 20 people that pay me. As I said to Janet, because you could have a tendency for that not to happen. So if you're going, I can just tell you this: I've never missed an event. I will never miss an event. I remember back in the beginning, somebody said, if the only way you miss an event is if for a funeral, if it's yours. And I've stuck to that. And I've ridden out. I would say it's one of the most hardest things I've ever done, but it's one of the most rewarding things I've ever done, just because of the lives that we've taught and the lives that we've been able to change. So mine included. So there was an elite webinar today, but I'm going to have to apologize because I was in a one-on-one and I was not able to watch it. But I am going to pull up some of the notes. Actually, Dahlia Kalk took phenomenal notes today. So I'm going to pull up just a little bit of this so that you can see this and hear and listen to it. I won't pull it up on the screen, but I will read this to you. Hold on one second. I had it and then it disappeared. So I will tell you guys this. There's new packages to come to PCs, no shipping on the new packages. Try to be in a level of our trends like Amazon. They're going to be down. They're actively removing product sales from Amazon, eBay, and etc. down over 300 requests just in the last month. Ratio of numbers of distributors attending events and their future enrollments versus distributors that don't attend events is very high. Register for breakout sessions. If you're going to convention and you haven't registered for breakout sessions, you do that in your back office under events. Lisa and I just finished doing that. There's a new look on the packages of True Science coming. Let's see. And like I said, John Maxwell is going to teach on the 21 laws at convention, which I think is going to be awesome because it's one of the best books I've ever read. I've never heard him teach it. And he's going to use some LifeVantage people. So if you haven't looked, if you're considering going to the LifeVantage retreat, Team True Blue retreat, Dave Fleming has confirmed that he will be at the True Blue retreat. And then him and Fred will be presenting in Tampa on Monday night. I did want to share this with you guys about, Brandon shared this with us in one of our team calls, that there's a new distributor in I believe this is in Candace Rosenberg's group. She's been in for several months. She's in the Atlanta area where Janice and Glenn are. She engaged in the launch 60, did 3 launch calls, went from a distributor to a Pro 2 in 21 days with launch calls. So imagine if you could create 5 Pro 2s. That makes you a Pro 4, okay? And these are people who have not done anything with their business. People who, I don't know where that came from. I don't know how that happened, Janice. I can't.
What'd you do?
I don't know. There's some water playing or something, and everybody's muted except for you.
Okay, it's not water. It's Sojourner. So I'm going to mute.
Oh, I was like, it sounded like Glenn playing music, and I.
Yeah, the band's downstairs. So I'll mute until it's my time.
Okay. All right. So hopefully you guys understand the significance of launch calls. Some of you on here have not done one for, so schedule a launch call. You know, if you haven't been doing them, you don't just have to do 3 of them. You can do more than 3 of them. Lisa and I just talked to Dr. DeLucia. He's not sure about Monday yet, but Lisa and I are getting ready. We're going to schedule one with Dr. DeLucia. And then we're going to schedule another one with somebody else. You don't have to be a Pro 6 or a Pro 7 to do a launch call. All you have to do, like, to be honest with you, if I had some people that I believe were in ministry and people who I really wanted to see the magnification, the magnitude of this, I would use Janice for a third party. So one of the things that you have to remember is that this is a relationship business. This is about getting people the information in a non-threatening way so that people can literally hear the information as the messenger, not hearing it from somebody else, and you just being the messenger, not the message. So you need to pull up on that computer, Janice? Huh? Oh, I'm waiting for you.
I moved into the bedroom that's farther away from the music. So
Okay,
hopefully
do you need to,
that'll make it better for everybody.
Are you using that computer?
Yeah. This is the computer I'm using. So
Okay.
I don't have my monitor now, so it's all good.
Okay. All right. So guys, I'm going to turn this over to Janice. Janice, you guys know that we've been doing the laws of growth, and Janice is going to be speaking on the law of the rubber band. And I actually watched it today twice, which was great. What I do know before Janice got is what really touched me was the same thing that I've gone through in my life. If you're not being stretched, you're not growing. And Janice can tell you that I've been stretched and stretched and stretched. I think we all have been. I think if you talk to Glenn would say he's probably been stretched and overstretched. So I'm recording this, but I'm going to make Janice the host, and I'm going to turn it over to you, my friend. So
all right.
You are the
Thanks,
host.
Michael. Thank you.
You are welcome.
So welcome everybody, and I hope that all of this. Can you hear me? Okay, Michael, give me a thumbs up because I don't have the mic system I usually do. So am I good, Michael?
You are good. You're perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I'm with Michael. This was a fun, challenging, incredible law, and it just fits so well with everything else we've learned so far. And that's what I love about John Maxwell, is this really is laws of growth. They really do feed on one another. And I'm so glad Michael's going to be posting these, because I found myself going back over my notes, and I go back and I re-listen to some of the bonus videos, and I re-listen to some of the other information, and I'm going, oh my gosh, it's just awesome stuff. And I know for many of you, this is a ton of information, and it can be overwhelming, and you're like, how am I going to apply any of this to myself? And the key is that you just take little nuggets from every week. So when Michael posts these, go back, re-listen, and just commit to yourself. You'll take one nugget out of each one of the laws, and you'll try to apply that to your life and see how that can change your life in a particular way. Don't try to use all of it at one time. It is overwhelming if we do that. But let's be very intentional. That's one of the laws. Be very intentional about what we choose to use and how we use it. So let's talk about the law of the rubber band. And John had so many nuggets this week that I just finally, in my notes for tonight, I just kept putting in a John Maxwell nugget, a John Maxwell nugget. So you're going to hear a lot of those tonight. And let me go ahead and pull up the worksheet for tonight. And this is a very short worksheet. So don't worry about the fact that there doesn't seem like there's a lot on this. As I always have said to you anytime I've taught, taking notes, your own notes, is where the power is in remembering what you've been taught and owning what you've been taught. So we begin with the most important nugget, which is growth stops when you lose the tension between where you are and where you want to be. Now think about a rubber band, because the value in a rubber band is not laying there unstretched on the table. It's not being used then. The value in a rubber band is when you have to stretch it to actually hold things together or close something or whatever you're using it for. But it's of no value until it is stretched. So our growth is going to come when we're allowing ourselves to be stretched like the rubber band is. So one of the things we've got to identify is those first factors, where you are and where you want to be. If where you are right now is your comfort zone and you're not going to step out of that to be stretched, then there's a whole lot of consequences to that. So what is your comfort zone? Think about that right now in terms of where you are. Where's your comfort zone? Think about when you're most relaxed, when your mind is still, when you have no sense of urgency. Are you growing at that moment? No. Is your life growing and changing? Probably not. Are you moving towards your goals? Most likely not. So perfect comfort zone for me is lying on the beach reading a book. No growth is happening. Well, unless I'm reading a John Maxwell book, of course. But other than that, there isn't really anything actively happening in my life. I'm not being stretched. I'm not being challenged. So one of the things, here's a John Maxwell nugget. If whatever you are doing is running itself, then it is slowly running itself into the ground. Many people say, oh, you know, things are going so great, I don't have to do anything about it. Things are just on a nice, even plane. Well, folks, eventually that inertia is going to slow and end up, all the energy is going to be gone and it's going to stop. So whatever you're doing, if it's running itself, it's going to run itself into the ground. And then another nugget, life begins at the end of our comfort zone. And I think all of you can agree with that based on the laws we've talked about so far. If we're not willing to change, if we're not willing to experience a shift in how we're doing things, then we're not really living life. We're just kind of existing. So we've got to start to stretch our muscles. We got to really reach in order to stretch our muscles. And you think about that in terms of Michael doing your personal training. He's not going to let you do what's comfortable. He's not going to let you do what's easy. If you're working with him as a personal trainer to strengthen your muscles and stretch them and make them stronger, he's going to make you work. And it's going to hurt a little bit. You got to get past what's comfortable to really begin to grow and to change. So one of the other things that the comfort zone is characterized by is doing the same things in the same ways with the same people at the same times, getting the same results and still asking the question why. You see that in the big box there on the sheet. That's something that we all have defined as insanity. in most of the discussions I've ever had with people. Hang on a second. I'm going to have to mute somebody because I hear them.
Sorry.
But I can't see them. So we'll just go on. Okay. So
Oh, wrong way.
another one of John's nuggets is if you are in your comfort zone and you are not stretching, you're going to have an average life. And to be exceptional, you're going to have to stretch. Average people want you to stay average. You know why? Because when they're around above average people, that intimidates them, that challenges them, that starts to shoot off all kinds of warning flags. Uh-oh, this isn't an average person. They're not going to accept me being average. I'm not measuring up. And of course, their perceptions and assumptions are not your responsibility. But that's why we go back to a couple of the other laws. John frequently mentions the law of 5. The 5 people that you spend the most time with are going to have the greatest influence on who you are and what your character is. So average people who want to stay average are going to try to hang around average people so that they're not challenged and they're not stretched. If we want to stretch, then we have to surround ourselves. That's the law of the environment. We have to surround ourselves with people who are going to cause us to stretch, are going to draw us into stretching. Unfortunately, John says, the world is dumbing down. Therefore, we have to choose to go the extra mile for ourselves. And how are we going to do that? We're going to have to stretch. So let's talk for a few minutes about stretching. You'll see there on this worksheet, stretch in your abilities and your strengths. Abilities and your strengths. Michael's exercising for us. So when you stretch in the areas of your strengths, you will be challenged. But when you stretch in the areas of your weakness, you're going to become intimidated. So what does that mean to stretch in the areas of your abilities and your strengths? Well, first of all, you've got to identify those areas in which you shine. Those are your abilities and your giftedness. And John talks about this a lot in all the laws, that you don't want to operate in areas in which you're not gifted and are not your abilities. We're going to have to address those, and I'm going to in a minute. But you really want to focus on, where are my abilities? Where is my giftedness? And those are the areas that you really want to stretch because you want to become better at them. When you stretch in those areas, you've got to think about not being comfortable with the levels of achievement that you've already accomplished. If I'm good at something, if I'm just content with that and I let it stay there, it's not going to grow, and sadly, it will become stale, and I will lose my edge in that area. I've got to focus on growing in that area and strengthening in that area. And that's going to challenge me because I've already achieved a certain plateau. But like John has said to us in previous laws, don't always be the teacher. Surround yourselves with people who are more gifted than you are in the areas that you want to grow so that you can improve. You can become stronger and better each and every time. And John's life is an excellent example of that. So we want to focus on the things that we can change and should change. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the next section. But let me talk for a second about weaknesses. We don't want to ignore our weaknesses. Although they should never be our total focus, it is very important to be balanced. And that is that we do not want to become guilty of saying, sorry, that's who I am. Either take me or leave me. That's just my weakness. That's just my characteristic. So too bad, too sad. You don't like me, tough luck. Well, there's a part of that that's healthy, but not that perspective. We want to always be willing to say, you know, I could improve there. That might not be my giftedness. It may not be a strength of mine, but it's an area I could do better in. So Lord, help me understand how to improve in that area. And that's why it's intimidating, because it's not easy for us. Our weak areas are not easy for us to address, to deal with, to function in. But we do benefit when we improve in them. So we do want to be very intentional about what it is, whether it's our weaknesses or our strengths and our abilities. We want to be very intentional about determining what we're going to change and why we're going to change. One of the things that I want to caution you when you address your weaknesses is that intimidation is going to raise up fear of failure, fear of being exposed, seen as not good enough, fear of rejection because we're not measuring up. And that's just a lot of the emotions that come when you tackle an area where it's not your strength. So here's a few little questions to ask yourself. First of all, evaluate, does this particular weakness matter in the long run? If it's something I really don't care about and it really doesn't impact my goals and my objectives, then, Michael, I muted you because you were coming through. Then we don't have to worry about that. And if it's an average ability that we have, but it really doesn't matter again long term in our goals and our objectives, then don't expend the energy in it. But if it's an area that's going to help us to achieve our goals, then by all means focus some targeted energy in that area, whether it's a strength, an ability, a giftedness, or a weakness. But if it's tied to our goals and our values and what we want to accomplish, then we really can and should make a choice to expend energy on that. And then another aspect of that is working on your own personal identity. And that's wrapped up in all of these laws, is being very conscious of who you are. As a matter of fact, last week, when Lisa was talking about the previous law, which I have written down, but I don't have it in front of me, it said staying real.
Matter, Janice.
Thank you. Staying real is one of the most courageous things we will ever fight for. Okay, so you're not going to make change for somebody else. You're going to make change for yourself, for your character, for your abilities to really become all that God has created you to become. So the other line there, stretch in important choices. So we first considered what our abilities and giftedness is, and then we discovered and we talked about considering what our weaknesses are. But now we've got to make some choices about what we've discovered. And we did a few of that evaluation through the questions I just gave you. And that kind of laid a foundation for us for a roadway, a pathway for stretching ourselves. But the next questions are, who stretches me and what stretches me? So the who and the what is the best way to begin to discover where this direction of stretch is going to take you. How are you going to get from where you are to where you want to go? You ask questions of yourself and those around you. Remember that the filter through which you're asking those questions is your own identified abilities and giftedness, as well as weaknesses, but it's also defined through the vision you have for your life. I want to use real quickly John Maxwell's own journey, something that he shared with us in a very early law. And that was early in his career, he decided, and he was a pastor, but he decided that he really wanted to become a great communicator. He wanted to learn how to really share via the spoken word to different people things that would make a difference in their life. And what he determined was, man, I got to get better at this if I'm going to be a good speaker, a good communicator. So he started studying individuals who were good communicators. And he also started going to their events and watching them and watching their audiences to see when they had an impact and making notes and then practicing what he learned. So that's a very intentional growth path of stretching in an area that he wanted to develop as his strength. Each one of us must look at what our goals are and what our values are, and determine what it is we want to change, how we want to change, why we're going to change, and then really target it and stretch it. So I love, 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 love this nugget that's at the bottom. Once your mind is stretched, it cannot return to its original dimension. When I heard him say that, it's such impact on me that I had to stop what I was doing, what I was listening in the law, and I went to my Facebook page and I had to post that because it gave me such revelation as to why many times I couldn't go back. I couldn't go back to the same group of people. I couldn't go back to the same experiences because God had stretched my mind and he was not going to let it go back to its original dimension. And another nugget that John Maxwell said was, once you've tasted significance, success will never satisfy you again. Think about that. Once we have experienced the opportunity to have an impact on people's lives, to be significant in a change for someone, in ourselves, in events, in the course of history, whatever, once we've experienced significance, personal success just seems irrelevant, especially if we're tying that to monetary success. One of the bonus speakers said, become purpose-minded, not profit-minded. And that's the same concept of significance versus success. So in trying to tie this up and be on time, I want to revisit the first line again. Growth stops when you lose the tension between where you are and where you want to be. So we first have to identify where we are, and then we have to identify where we want to be. Another way to look at that is we develop our goals based upon our values. The goals are the what, the values are the why. What is so important to us that we will determine our future goals, the future direction of our lives around them? Think about that, everybody. What in the world, in all the world, in your personal world, what is so important to you that you would move heaven and earth? One of the speakers and the bonus speakers gave this analogy. If I put a 50-foot wire from the top of a skyscraper in New York City to the top of another skyscraper in New York City, would you walk across that for $100? Of course not. For $1,000? No way. For $1 million? Nope, sorry, I value my life too much. But what if there was a small child at the other end of that 50-foot line, and the only way to save that child's life was for you to challenge and dare to go across that to rescue that child? Different scenario, different value system. So think about what drives you. What is it that's going to cause you to overcome the pain of stretching, to overcome that discomfort, to get out of your comfort zone, and to really begin to grow? Again, one of the bonus speakers said, our potential is God's gift to us, and our gift back to him is developing our potential. All promotion comes from the Lord. Make him your business partner and talk to him daily. Review every day how much time you are investing in your conversation with your business partner and make it meaningful. So that, folks, is the law of the rubber band. And John Maxwell challenged all of us to put a rubber band around our wrist and wear it for 30 days to remind yourself to be stretched. Thank you, Michael. Where are you, Michael? I can't get you there.
You can hear me now, right?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Stop share. There you go.
There we go. Okay. So let's see. All right, there I am. I'm not a cancer patient either.
Praise the Lord.
But one of the things that I was thinking about what Janice was saying, I don't know if y'all can see this, but I have a rubber band on my wrist. Okay. And it says, it's from a ministry that Lisa and I went to called Whatever It Takes Ministries. And it says open, broken, and free. And hopefully you can see it there. It's open, broken, and free. And Paul said, like John said, if you just do this, it hurts when you're stretched. Being stretched hurts, right? We all know that, right? Being stretched hurts. Well, I always say this, like if I'm getting distracted or I have something that I'm going through or that the enemy's, I just go like this and I say, okay, ow, that hurts. And so it's okay to be stretched, but stretching hurts, but it actually makes us better. It makes us, in the end, it makes us better. So as I said, guys, and I'm just gonna, I didn't realize I had my thing muted, but I'm gonna tell you why I get disappointed when there's not so many people. And I know that the right people that are supposed to be on here are on here, but when Janice takes this much time to be able to do this, more people should be able to hear this. And we invite about 100 people. And because those are people that are actively working their business, that we feel are leaders. And I'm just grateful that you guys are being on here tonight. I would share this with more people if I were you guys. I'm going to post it on YouTube. I'm going to post it on, I'm actually considering starting another team Facebook page just because the hoops we have to go through to get these things posted on certain sites. So Janice, thanks for sharing that. Great job, as Lisa just said. I'm excited that here in a month we're going to be in Salt Lake City. I just been looking at all the stuff that's going on, and I know Janice has some exciting stuff when they get back that's going on. And so I'm excited that you guys all took the time out tonight to listen. And I'm really grateful that I get to do this journey with all of you. And so we're a little past our time, so I'm going to stop the recording and